that'll be the last one for the day.
Okay, thank you.
Some preliminaries. Ms. Sexton, why don't you state your whole name for the record and your current address?
Christina Lisette Sexton, Queensland, Australia.
For how long, Ms. Sexton, had you lived in Australia?
I've been at that address since July 2017. There was a transitionary period. I met my husband in December of 2015. So 16 and 17 decisions on which country we were going to move to and such. So I did not establish residency here until July, and then began all my paperwork subsequently when we were married in October of 2017.
So I take it from your last answer, Ms. Sexton, that Australia was the lucky winner for which country you and your husband would choose to live in. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed.
And do you currently have a job? Do you currently work right now in Australia?
Yes, I'm an acting coach.
When was it, to the best of your recollection, that she took a class that you were a TA in?
I believe it was sometime in 2009.
For how long did you remain Amber Heard's primary or exclusive acting coach?
I don't know about exclusive. We don't have any sort of exclusivity contracts. She may work with other coaches. The last time we worked on a project together would be Aquaman, so 2017. I don't know about exclusive. We don't have any sort of exclusivity contracts. She may work with other coaches. The last time we worked on a project together would be Aquaman, so 2017.
Okay, so the first movie, or the first TV series, I should say, that you recall working on as an acting coach with Amber Heard was the Playboy Club.
Yes.
Listed there 2011.
Yes.
I take it from what you just described that although the frequency varied, it's fair to say, is it not, that you saw Ms. Heard many, many, many times during the period between 2010 and 2017?
Oh, yes.
Would it be fair to say that you saw Ms. Heard during this 7-year period more than 100 times?
Easily, yes.
And when you say easily, do you think it's also fair to say that you saw her more than 200 times?
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm going to go up another 100. Same answer for 300 times?
Yeah. As I said, when I would see her, it would be multiple times a week in preparation for a project.
When's the last time that you had a session with Amber Heard as her primary acting coach?
Mid-2017.
During that early period when she lived on Orange Avenue, how would you describe, Amber Heard as an actor?
She was really focused on moving to the next level of her career and really stretching herself as an actor, which is why she started coaching so much at that time and initially even went to classes. So she was really driven to do a lot of work and kind of mine out everything that we could from the text and go over things a lot. So she was very driven as an actor to, I would say, get to the next phase of her career.
We're looking at Section 1. Refresh your recollection as to when that took place. That's the IMDb page.
Yes, it was either 2011 or 2012. If it's saying that it came out in 2011, then the premiere would have been in 2011, so yeah.
When was the next time you recall seeing Johnny or Mr. Depp?
I would say sometime in the middle of the following year.
So sometime in the middle of 2012, you think?
Yeah.
And where was that?
At her house on Orange. I remember seeing him quite a bit. In the early period...
Again, I'm focused on the early period. Did you have occasion to run into Mr. Depp at your coaching sessions with Amber later when she moved into Sweetser Avenue and then at the penthouse in downtown Los Angeles.
Yes, I did see him often at both Sweetser and the downtown house.
And over that period of time, did you observe changes in Mr. Depp's behavior?
Yeah, Johnny became, I would say, much darker as time went on. He was, like, figuratively and literally, he would sit in dark rooms. The art overall changed, like everything got much darker in the houses with like heavy, it was always a little, I don't know what the art form would be, dark, but it just like literally lighting would go down and big curtains would be everywhere, and he became much less talkative as time went on. I would see less and less of him personally. I would hear him in the house, but I would see less and less of him interaction-wise. And when I did, he wasn't very happy.
What would you hear him say on those occasions when you could hear him but not see him?
At different points in time, I heard different things. Sometimes it would just be him milling around the house. Sometimes it would be him having conversations with his team, bodyguards and stuff, or his friends that were over making music at the Sweetser location. Sometimes it was him and Amber fighting. Like, I was in his home, so I heard him quite a bit.
You said a couple of answers ago that from time to time you would hear Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard fighting. Can you, again, keeping in mind that it's a long time ago, can you describe what you heard?
I would say I would just hear a lot of him yelling. His voice would carry through kind of the halls of the house. And then, like, I remember one time in specific that I could hear Amber was trying to get out of the room, and then the door shut again, and then I could just hear muffled yelling on his part.
At the beginning of their relationship, once Ms. Heard has revealed to you that they were in fact in a relationship, did she talk to you about Mr. Depp's struggles with drugs and alcohol?
In the early parts of their relationship, she had said that he was sober. She was trying to support him in his sobriety. And then subsequently throughout the relationship, we would talk about his breaks in sobriety.
Based on your work as Ms. Heard's acting coach, primary acting coach, was it your understanding that Mr. Depp had opinions about what role Ms. Heard should take?
There were a couple of occasions where I actually heard Johnny say, why would you want to do that kind of role? My woman isn't going to play that kind of role. Stuff like that I heard a few times from him over the course of time.
Other than saying that hearing Mr. Depp say he didn't want his woman playing a whore, did you ever hear him use any other language like that about the kind of roles that Ms. Heard was being offered? To focus you in, Ms. Sexton, I'm talking about the period when Amber and Johnny were together in a relationship until you stopped being her acting coach in 2017. And I'm focusing in on what you recall hearing from Mr. Depp about what roles he thought Ms. Heard should play.
As I said, he would be sitting, initially when she lived in the Orange location, sometimes he would be nearby. It was a fairly small house, and he would be nearby and kind of earshot. So there were times that he was kind of just disparaging. That's a shitty role. Why would you do that? That kind of thing. But he wasn't super negative then. Later on, as it went on, he was very vocal about the negative terms. Like I said, he called it a whore part or a trash part, or a piece of shit, all sorts of things like that. Generally pretty negative if it was something he didn't want her to do.
Did the number of roles that Ms. Heard auditioned for change during the time that she was involved with Mr. Depp?
Yes, it did. It was decreasing as it went, and there would be stretches of time where she wasn't auditioning at all or working on anything at all.
During the time that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were together, did you observe changes in their relationship over time?
Yeah, early on they were incredibly lovey-dovey and passionate and always together in a positive way. They were very playful and friendly. And then I would see less and less of them together, and I would hear a lot of muffled arguments through the walls. And when I did see him, sometimes the balance would shift. It went from being like a normal couple to very tension-filled, especially those last few months that they were together. And yeah.
Was there withdrawn? Did the number of times that Ms. Heard was late for or canceled sessions with you change as her relationship with Mr. Depp went on in time?
Yeah, as I said earlier, Amber was never late when we worked at the studio. And then as it went on, I began having to actually build in a cushion of an hour around her appointment. It started out just an extra 15 minutes here and there because she'd be late coming downstairs, or they'd be discussing, or he had to talk to her at that moment in time. And eventually, as the relationship progressed and the fighting got heavier, I would have to build in time because she'd be sobbing at the beginning of sessions and we couldn't work until we got her together. Yeah, I ended up having to do a lot of cushion time around her just so that we could actually get something accomplished because she was often very upset.
Did you have occasion to observe Ms. Heard crying, naturally, not acting, when you had coaching sessions with her during the time that she was together romantically with Mr. Depp?
I would say the last year they were together, probably 80-90% of our sessions began with her crying. That would be increasing as it went on. Ironically, she has a little difficulty crying, acting-wise, so which a lot of us do. And so, yeah, we would have to work when we were doing it acting-wise, but it was a lot towards the end there, a lot of crying sessions.
Based on your testimony here, Ms. Sexton, is the crying that she did in a role different than the crying you observed so often in the last year of her relationship with Mr. Depp?
Yes, inherently, acting crying is very different, unless somebody is working in what's called method, in which that's an entirely different thing where they focus on their own stuff. So she's not a method actor, so it would be completely different.
Speaking for your own self, Ms. Sexton, how did you react when you saw Amber at these sessions crying the way you described it?
I have a caretaker personality, so I would prioritize taking care of the person in front of me over doing work, which is why I ended up building in all that extra time, because I cared about her as a human and I wanted to be there for her in as much as I could as a friend. So there's no point on working on something if someone isn't fully there or they're upset. It's more important to deal with the person and take care of them than work.
And during those sessions, particularly in the last year when you saw Ms. Heard crying so often, what was your understanding of the reason for her tears?
I would hear them fighting and then hear her come in, and she would be a wreck after she came in. I couldn't make out what they were saying, and I personally wasn't trying to listen to their fights, so I would just hear the sounds of the screaming. And her usually, you could tell she would open the door and try to get him to be quiet, and then it'd go back to him yelling So that would directly occur before she would come down and be upset and trying to pull herself together.
What do you recall seeing her say she told you that they were fighting about?
I was witness to some of those. He didn't want her going out without any sort of security or any team. He didn't want her going and doing things just on her own.
You described earlier in your testimony, Ms. Sexton, what Amber Heard was like when you first met her. During this period when she was involved with Mr. Depp, and particularly toward the end of their relationship, did her behavior change?
Over the course of time, she became more and more of a hermit, only leaving the house when she had to. Again, as I said earlier, literally the houses became darker with the curtains drawn all the time. I remember one time in particular when she was living at the Eastern Columbia that we went downstairs to get a slice of pizza. I think there were 4 of us, and Amber gave a homeless kid down there some money, and we helped him get to the bus stop, and we came back up, and Johnny yelled at her about going out, and that she knew better than to be going out at night and that kind of thing. And when we tried to kind of be like, it's fine, we got pizza downstairs at the building across the street, then he just started screaming and getting really angry, so I made my way out.
What about her weight? Did you notice any changes during that period in her weight? Just to be clear, Ms. Sexton, I'm asking about the time that she was involved with Mr. Depp.
So Amber is one of those people that loses weight when she's stressed out. So she would drop weight and look skeletal at certain points in time. I remember right before their wedding, she had lost a significant amount of weight to the point that I was asking her if she was eating regularly. So she's always been fit, but she would drop down and get a little gaunt if she was super stressed out.
And in that last year that she was involved with Mr. Depp, do you know changes in her weight?
Yeah, she lost a significant amount of weight, and I noticed it specifically because I had been in Australia doing a film, and then when I came back, so I'd been in Australia since December, I came back in February, and she looked, she was skin and bones. Like she was much thinner than she normally was at that point. So I know during that time period that she had lost a lot of weight and she was very gaunt.